Broadcasting with our hands around our mouths, shouting like Little League coaches from the abandoned Long John Silver's behind the abandoned Pizza Hut on Center Avenue in Bay City, Michigan. It's Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really with your hosts, Eric Walensky and Matthew Maynard. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Eric.
My name's Matt, ladies and gentlemen.
And good evening to you, Matt.
Good evening. And you know it's evening because we're wearing our evening clothes, our tuxedos, here in the abandoned Long John Silver's.
I've got my smoking jacket on.
Well, that's good because we got the smoker going out in the back.
That's where I've been lighting my cigarettes.
So we're smoking those fish for the non-existent Long John Silver's patrons.
So, folks, we have a treat for you this week. It's a new segment where Matt and I will play some original music from friends and people we've met over the years, artists who make music that we enjoy, and we hope you enjoy too.
And some of them may be not necessarily our friends, but people we've just reached out to because we like their music, and
sure,
they said yes.
Exactly. Friends of the show. Friends of the show.
Right. Well, I don't want people to think that we're like, having parties at our house with these people all the time, but
and that they're not invited.
Yeah, it's like because some of them might be hurt. I don't,
Boy, Matt and Eric are just swinging. Oh my gosh. This week we're going to feature my friend Steve Elsterman. He wrote the song "The Quarantined Man." It's a fun little tune inspired by the current COVID-19 pandemic right now. And can't we all just use a little fun when it comes to COVID-19?
Right. So what else is going on?
Vampires.
I'm afraid already.
So you remember an episode or so ago where I had overheard those kids talking about whether or not Superman had a tan in that comic book store?
Eric, I don't remember very much about anything anymore. I don't know why. It's age or something.
Well, let me assure you, I did bring it up.
Okay, I'll have to go back and re-listen. I don't.
And I took it upon myself to kind of think it through why Superman didn't have a tan. I assumed it was because Earth's yellow sun gives him impenetrable skin. And
oh, yes. Was this like the Philosopher Kids in the comic book store
yes,
or something?
Yes. So just to make sure I had my theory correct, I went online and I ended up on a Reddit thread. And I found a whole discussion about why Superman doesn't have a tan, etc., etc. It's pretty interesting. For the most part, I was pretty much correct, at least as far as those comic book nerds were concerned. However, as I'm scrolling through Reddit, lots of really weird, interesting conversations on there, and this one caught my eye. Could a vampire cop enter a house without permission if they had a search warrant?
Who knows?
Now, see, in vampire lore, vampires are not allowed to enter the home or the dwelling of a person without being invited in. So somebody had this idea, and this guy should be in Congress or something. He started wondering...
Probably is.
He might be. I have no idea. Started wondering that if a vampire cop had a search warrant where he was legally allowed to enter a home, if that would get around needing permission from the homeowner. Matt, I copy and pasted this little discussion into Word just to kind of sort out my thoughts on it and give it a quick read. It's 26 pages!
Oh, my.
So here's just some of the tidbits, some of the highlights of what I came across here. Somebody just flat out says no, while a warrant is a judge giving Officer Nosferatu, they named the vampire cop. While a warrant is a judge giving Officer Nosferatu permission to enter a dwelling, it isn't the judge's home. If it
Mm-hmm.
worked like that, the bloodsuckers would have discovered that little loophole ages ago. And see, that's the other thing I think is interesting about this whole thread is that when the vampire lore and mythology started, it was, 1600s, 1500s, forever ago. And there were just some real basic rules about vampires. You put a stake through the heart to kill them. They don't like silver. They don't like garlic. And they can't go out in the daylight. And that's about it. And then they can't enter a home without an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple, right? Well, then all these modern conveniences came along. All of these new world ideas. And somebody started to think about this whole search warrant loophole. They got a little off the rails on this, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
well, that's what makes it fun.
Right. Somebody suggested that being a banker that lent money to landlords would give them some claim over the property.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're starting to think that if a vampire was a landlord, that he could just enter the home whenever he wanted. There was a response. They don't think that it would work like that either. When you have an interest in a property, such as a mortgage, you don't own the property. It still belongs to whoever's name is on the deed. See, they're really boiling this down.
But I'm guessing these are the same people that hang out in that comic book store.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And they probably, have nothing else to do except think about this.
And that's why I love it. Al Gore invented the internet, and this is what we did with it.
And Al Gore is sitting back thinking, this is exactly according to plan.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Somebody got a little frustrated with that line of thought and just said, all right, but could a landlord vampire enter their own properties without an invitation? Somebody commented, yes, but only after giving 24 hours notice.
Where did they come up with that one?
I guess because they think a landlord has to give 24-hour notice before they can enter your property. Another smart aleck came up with, I want to suck your blood 24 to 48 hours from now.
I don't know about these philosophers.
But this next one kind of gets, again, very detailed. They say no, that the search warrant wouldn't work. The protection doesn't come from the dwelling being your property. It comes from the dwelling being your home, your fortress, your castle, where you laugh, live, love, where you raise your kids, live your life, the place you put your blood, sweat, and tears into building, expanding, and maintaining. That's what protects against vampires.
Okay.
The follow-up to that, so a vampire who owns an Airbnb or hotel could probably get inside then? Of course, I don't consider the hotel room I'm staying in my home. A vampire could get in no problem. And that makes sense.
Right.
Somebody responded to that by saying, okay, but I don't consider my crappy apartment much of a home either. The response to that, then it won't protect you from vampires.
Well, I'm living out of my car. What about that?
Yes, they say that if your car is your home, that's your protection. Whatever kind of threshold that is, they
Mm-hmm.
cannot come in. And along those lines, Matt, somebody else said, what if your house was just a hole in the ground that has no walls? Could that protect you from vampires? The
Okay.
response, according to folklore, if it's your hole in the ground that you would shed blood to defend, then they can't cross the threshold, whatever the threshold may be.
So why are we talking about mortgages if we're talking about, you know, if the rule of thumb is if you shed blood, it's yours. That's not how mortgages work.
Somebody took it in another direction and said opening an orphanage would probably be a better plan for Mr. Nosferatu if he wants to make himself a pantry.
Well, yeah, why doesn't Nosferatu just buy land?
Well, exactly. That's why they're proposing he should just make his own
Right.
orphanage. Somebody wonders if a homeless person could successfully prevent a vampire from entering the spatial bounds of whatever squat or structure they've set up for themselves long term. See, now I'm wondering if this is just a whole bunch of homeless people trying to figure out if they're safe from vampires. And ironically, I think they're arguing with vampires who are trying to find the loophole. Somebody posed this little scenario. There's nothing stopping someone from being evicted from their home by mortal police and then preyed on by a vampire who had some way orchestrated this.
The whole premise, the beginning premise, is about a vampire cop, which police have been in the news a lot lately, but vampire cops on top of everything else?
It's getting out there. Somebody finally summarizes the entire argument with, I think the vampire cop could enter with a valid warrant. Yes, it's not the same as the owner-resident's clear permission, but the owner-resident is bound by the social contract of the laws of that area to submit to valid warrants. At the very least, a valid warrant weakens the blocking effect of not having permission, and vampiric police can enter after special training and exercises that help them overcome whatever blocking force is still in effect. Finally, the last comment on this thread is, wait, back up. First of all, are vampires sci-fi or fantasy? Somebody just came real late to the party on that one.
Well, this whole premise of vampire cops, I'm just thinking about famous cop shows. What would Dragnet be like if there were vampires?
It would all take place at night.
This is the city, Los Angeles. My name is Friday. I'm a cop vampire. The chief is Nosferatu. My partner is Bela Lugosi. We were working the night watch. A blood bank had just been robbed. Our job, find out where the blood was.
I like it.
It could be good. When you sent me this, I looked at it, and I got down a rabbit hole of Reddit stuff myself. And I found this post. My grandma believes Bill Gates is a direct descendant of Hitler and created coronavirus to get revenge on the world for the death of Hitler. Please help me, I'm gonna explode. She genuinely believes that the world's richest people are direct descendants of Hitler and has started feeding this to my mom and granddad.
And he turns to Reddit for advice.
Some of the comments. You know what could really blow her mind is if you get rich. Now you're a descendant from Hitler, which also makes her a descendant of Hitler. That's not how genealogy works.
Mind blown, Grandma. Wait a minute. If you're descended, then that means... Oh, no.
Unless it's on your dad's side.
Well, the funny thing is that the point of the thread is to figure out how to convince the grandma that this really isn't true. Well, they start a whole tangent about, first of all, Hitler doesn't have any descendants.
Mm-hmm.
That we know of, that is. And then it keeps on going. Hitler was deeply attached to his half-niece. There's some indication there that he had a kid with her. Somebody says if he had a son with a French teenager when he was a soldier in the First World War, that boy was placed for adoption. Hitler had a daughter. There's a whole book about it. These people are getting way off topic now.
No.
This guy didn't say, my grandma thinks that Hitler had kids. This started with, my grandma thinks Bill Gates is a direct descendant of Hitler. Stay on topic, people.
One person even writes, there are no direct descendants of Hitler. Why? Because him and his wife kill them. Present tense. Him and his wife kill them. The closest you can get is the descendants of Adolf's nephew here in America, but they don't want to be found. The family has changed their last name a dozen times since getting to America. None of them want any form of fame. By the way, Bill Gates is not one of them. Tell your grandmother from Jerome, me. Lady, you are loony. And then in the last part of this, he says, loony, crackpot, screwball, bats in the belfry, lunatic, crazy, and etc.
And etc. in case I missed one.
Take it from me, Jerome.
Somebody gives this advice. There is probably nothing you can do or say to change your Nana's mind, sadly. In my opinion, it would be best to gently but firmly refuse to indulge this delusion. No, Nana, we've been over this, remember? And then abrupt subject change.
Abruptly changing it to, what if vampires had a search warrant?
Thanksgiving is so weird at my house. I have to believe Grandma bringing up Bill Gates being a direct descendant of Hitler is an abrupt subject change on its own.
Pass the cranberries. Bill Gates is descended from Hitler.
We've been over this, Nana. Remember? Vampire police need a search warrant to get into your home.
The family that only talks in Reddit conversations.
Ding dong. Oh, that must be Jerome.
Tell your grandma from me, you're a Looney Tune. Oh yeah, like they're really going to listen to Jerome on that one.
Oh, man.
This person, I don't know if this person has any experience with dealing with elderly people, but they think they do. They say, one of the first things they teach you, I don't know who they is, one of the first things they teach you when dealing with the elderly is that you can't force reality on them.
Where is this class?
If in their mind they are 30 and believe they need to get back home to make dinner for the kids, you don't say, Beatrice, your kids are in their 40s and you live right here at the nursing home. You say, don't worry, Beatrice, the kids already had dinner. Let's play another game of bingo with Janice.
I don't know it, Janice.
If she starts ranting about nonsense, don't challenge her beliefs. Just confirm that the world she lives in inside her mind is real, and then distract her with a safe topic. Safe topics are pretty much everything that falls under the category of gray rocking. I don't know what that means.
What? That must be some fancy term they learned in their elderly class.
So that was the second thing they teach you. You can talk about pets or recipes, just something that most likely won't cause agitation. Small talk, basically.
Hey, Grandma, you ever notice how Superman doesn't have a tan? You ever wonder about that? Somebody followed that up with, my perfectly sane father started saying a couple weeks ago that coronavirus doesn't exist and was made up to get cars off the roads to lower emissions. Your perfectly sane father said that? I think you might need to take an elderly class.
Somebody wrote, also, Bill Gates, he's in a bunch of shady organizations. I've read about where his shell companies test out vaccines on people in other countries, and there's been a lot of deaths and cover-ups and things of that nature that you can't even find anymore because of the censorship on the internet, and that was insane. I don't believe Bill Gates is tied into Nazis, but I do believe the elite of the world are all working together in some shape, form, or fashion. All goes back to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And then next sentence, in the late 1800s, period. Not sure if this is relevant, just another viewpoint to try and understand why your grandma might feel the way she does.
Not sure if this is relevant. He might as well have written, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. Coronavirus was made to make cars go away.
I'm perfectly sane here.
Somebody responded to that and said, I'm not sure how much of this is and isn't believable. I can definitely see Bill Gates doing shady things, but testing vaccines makes no sense. It kind of doesn't, does it? Why would he be doing something that's for the benefit of people? I'm trying to heal the world secretly and evilly.
Another person wrote, "Nothing can be done. It's like playing chess with a pigeon." And somebody else responded, "Ha! My nan could probably get beat by one."
Now we're just capping on grandmas here. Somebody else chimed in with, "This is hard. I had to end a really long and good friendship due to conspiracy theories. It first started with vaccines. Then she went to colloidal silver cures everything. Yeah, unless you're a vampire cop trying to serve a search warrant to get into a meth lab in the basement, colloidal silver's gonna hurt like hell."
Somebody responded with, "Honestly, we don't know. You have to find your own truth and not what the media or the government wants you to believe. It seems like your grandmother has found hers."
Have that person do her eulogy, right? Because that sums up the crazy in the nicest possible way. She's found her truth.
There's no way of knowing who Hitler's descendants are. No DNA test, no nothing. Science is a myth.
I think this one sums up the whole thread the best. Somebody wrote, "Okay, well, is there anything she's doing with this ideology that's causing any immediate physical harm or danger to anyone?" He responds with, "She tried to stop me from wearing a mask a couple times." Grandma, get your hands off me. You're not wearing that out in public, you're not. Grandma, sit down. You're strong. Give me that mask. You give it to me. I think we might have to visit this Reddit rabbit hole more often, Matt.
I think so. There's some interesting conversations on there.
Well, we don't always have to go to Reddit to find the crazy. This was reported by the Daily Mail and also NBC News. Woman escapes terrifying encounter with man who claims to be half alien. She didn't say which half.
Was it Bill Gates? Because my grandma says...
Mary Kate Hayes is only 20 years old, but she has lived through a real-life horror movie. The British woman went on a backpacking trip through Australia in early December, and what started as a pleasant adventure turned into a horrifying affair. On her journey through the country, Hayes found herself at the hands of a man who called himself half alien, half human, according to NBC News. When she met the Swedish 22-year-old, he seemed pretty normal. The backpacking friends became close after a few weeks together. According to the Daily Mail, their casual friendship took a strange turn when he asked her an odd question: "Do you want to go on the adventure of your lifetime?" Not really an odd question.
No, that's something
Yeah.
I would ask somebody that I was getting close with.
Sure, they've already been backpacking friends
Right.
for a few weeks.
Although I don't know, for me, if I said, "Do you want to go on the adventure of your lifetime?" and the girl said, "Sure," or "Great," or "Yeah," then I'd be like, "Oh shoot, what are we gonna do now?"
You gotta be ready to back it up, huh?
I know, because the chances are this girl has done more adventuring than me, so I don't know. I guess it would be a strange question if I asked it. Yeah, he is definitely a weirdo.
Well, it says he's a Swedish 22-year-old, but then he's half man, half alien. So, what part of that is Swedish, though?
Mom's side. It makes sense. I don't know.
I suppose, yeah, it's got to come from one side or the other. So they've been backpacking friends for a few weeks and all this. So then she told NBC News the man had psychotic eyes, but nonetheless she decided to go on a trip with him. She's been backpacking around for a few weeks and now he's got psychotic eyes?
You know, have you ever gone to the eye doctor? You have what they would call in medical terminology psychotic eyes.
They agreed on a short drive to Brisbane, but he suddenly changed his mind and decided they would go to Cairns, which is an 18-hour drive away. While on the trip, Hayes told NBC News he dropped a horrifying bomb. He said, "I'm going to say something that might alarm you, but I'm going to say it in the best way I can." He said, "I'm half alien, half human." He spoke with such passion, she, quote, "actually kind of believed him." He delivered his line perfectly. But then this is where it really goes off the rails. Does she not read Reddit? Just when she thought it couldn't get any weirder, he told her that she is an extraterrestrial as well. "You're the one. You're the same as me. You're the one I've been looking for," he said, according to Hayes' interview with NBC News. What luck, because the outback is big. You could be out there for months and never find your alien counterpart. And he said, "Grab my hand." So I grabbed his hand. And he said, "Can you feel it?" I was like, "No." And he said, "You'll feel a warmth. Soon you'll feel a switch come on inside you, and you'll be exactly the same as me."
I kind of sort of believed him.
I looked deep into his psychotic eyes, and I knew he was probably telling the truth.
And I thought, he wasn't kidding about an adventure of a lifetime. This is really fun.
She told NBC News that at this point the man was so erratic she thought he was going to kill them both. Since he would not let her leave the vehicle, Hayes did what many people do when they are terrified. She texted her dad.
I know, I've texted her dad before when I was in trouble.
Me too. He's so
Good thing his
calming.
number is in the yellow pages. Hayes' dad.
He's such a comfort, though, isn't he?
You right? What's the matter this time? Oh no, not another alien bloke. It's alright. Don't worry. As long as you haven't seen a knife, he ain't gonna be much of a problem. If he does pull a knife on you, give me old Crocodile Dundee line. That'll make you back off right sure. Shrimp on the barbie, take care.
Thanks, Hayes' dad. Her father was able to share her location with Australian police, and there were 2 vampires working that shift.
And they couldn't get into the car because they hadn't been invited.
The end.
They're still out there somewhere.
Her father was able to share her location with Australian police, and after 2.5 more hours, police caught up and forced the car to pull over. Told you the Outback's big.
I guess.
I just leapt out of the car and ran over to the police, and I couldn't let go of the policeman like I was in some weird shock, Hayes told NBC News. I was crying and shaking. And now, literally, the end.
So we never find out if he really was half alien and half Swedish. No, we never find out what happened to him. Did they arrest him? Did they send him back to his home planet? What happened? Yeah, there was another story that was actually about aliens in Michigan. The headline was, "Ahead of Area 51 raid, Michigan UFO enthusiasts say aliens are real." It's a question you've been asked before, and lately in the United States it's on everyone's mind. Do you believe in aliens? Fox 17 went to downtown Grand Rapids and asked random people what they think. The biggest response? Maybe.
That's some hard-hitting journalism,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's pretty definitive. Then it goes on to say, well, there's one man who says he knows for sure. Southeast Michigan native Harry Wilness says that nowadays he thinks, quote, that more than 50% of the U.S. population anyway does believe that there's something going on with the UFO stuff.
Is UFO stuff a technical term?
That was said in the most Michigan way you could say it. I guess.
I know.
Yeah, no, I suppose there's a lot of people that like all that UFO stuff now then, but shoot, you know, how are you going to prove it now then? Then he goes on to say, Wilness is an alien enthusiast. An alien enthusiast. Yes. A past state director for the Michigan Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON. And he was around for the swamp gas case of 1966.
Oh, famous around these parts.
Yeah. Wow. It's certainly one of the best cases in Michigan history, shares Wilness. You might be familiar with the nationally acclaimed case of a farmer and his son who saw a UFO flying over a swamp in Dexter, Michigan. Quote, as he turned to go back to the farmhouse, he saw a light coming from across the sky, and he watched for a moment. He thought it was a shooting star initially, he said. This thing came, and then slowed, and then slowly began to drop into the swamp which was behind his house. This mystery brought in researchers from across the country, but to everyone's surprise and disapproval, the sighting was brushed aside with the explanation of swamp gas.
To everyone's surprise and disapproval? Like his neighbors? Who's everyone?
Wilness even has a copy of the original police report. Quote, when you read this, you realize this was not swamp gas that they saw. The frustrating case is one of countless throughout the world. Wilness says each case, like many aliens, are different. Quote, they come in all different sizes and shapes. Reptilians are often reported. The greys. We have the tall whites. These are creatures that are up to 10 feet tall, he said.
Reptilians are often reported. And you know the greys.
You got your greys, you got your whites, you got your jawbreakers, you got your candy corn, you got all of them.
It's a Willy Wonka funhouse of aliens in here. You got the Swedish ones with psychotic eyes.
You got your halvesies in Australia.
Mike and Ike's. They're from out beyond Pluto. Now, this is where the story sort of starts reading like an 11th grade report on aliens.
It started here? No, I think it started a lot earlier. More like an 8th grade report on aliens.
Well, it regresses, definitely.
So now that we know the types of aliens...
So now that we know the types, all right, we're good. We're humming along here.
So now that we know the types of aliens, what alien sightings have actually been reported? Bill Konkoleski, the current MUFON director, investigates...
Say muffin. I kind of like to think it's muffin.
Muffin?
I don't know. There is an O in there, but I think it's funnier if it's like, I'm the director of Muffin.
Oh, you own a bakery. No.
Guess again.
We got your grays, we got your tall whites, we got your cinnamon rolls, we got your cookies.
Got your bear claws.
Got some no-bakes. So anyway, This guy investigates alien sightings through submissions received from around the country. However, with all these sightings, there's one major question. Does the government cover up alien sightings? And if so, why? Wilness says, quote, it is being covered up. Pretty definitive. When asked why, he shared, quote, I think it's fear. Fear that the public wouldn't know how to handle this. Religion might have a problem.
I just love how terribly this is written.
Konkoleski's response to the question was similar. Quote, a lot of people would have a big issue with having to accept there's life on other worlds. So according to these reports, alleged government cover-ups are because people simply can't handle the truth. However, at the end of the day, what you believe is up to you. Oh, here we go again with Grandma and Bill Gates.
Yes!
Jeez.
That's what I was going to say.
It's a choose-your-own-adventure story again.
You find your own truth.
I'm a reporter, but I don't report. I let you find the truth. I just fill time.
And if anybody from Muffin comes up to you insisting that aliens are real, you let them live in that world in their head and abruptly change the subject.
No, Beatrice, there's no aliens. We're going to play bingo with Janice and some Greys and some reptilians.
Oh my gosh.
Quote, without 100% proof, there's only strong evidence, but there does appear to be strong evidence that something is in our skies that is not man-made. Something that was created off-planet is here, visiting us for unknown reasons. Where it's from, what its intentions are, that's completely unknown.
Thanks, news.
Then it goes on to say, you can hear Konkoleski speak in Houghton Lake at the Michigan UFO Contact 2. A crummy commercial?
I don't know if I need to hear him speak. I think this covered it.
No, Eric, we've got to go hear this guy speak. We've got to ask him the hard-hitting questions like, is the government hiding this? Why?
How come your list of aliens reads like the Starbucks menu? You've got grays and tall whites and mochas and fraps. You got half fraps. Mocha lattes. So yeah, all different sorts. Yep.
Yeah, we need to find out more about the different kinds.
We need to get a job writing for Fox 17, man.
I guess.
We could go downtown in Grand Rapids and ask people if they think aliens are real and then just report, most people said maybe.
Most people walked away from us very quickly and didn't want to have anything to do with this.
We grasped her hand and told them, can you feel that? You're going to feel warm. You're just like us.
You'll feel a switch go off inside of you, and then you'll call this woman's dad.
Hey, this is Hayes' dad. Where you at, Grand Rapids? I'll be there in a Bliggly bloke there. I don't know. Is Bliggly bloke Australian? I'm going to get letters again.
A Bliggly bloke. I don't know what that means, but sure. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up and get to the music we promised you. But before we do that, remember, folks, to find us and like us on Facebook. You can also find our podcast now on YouTube, on Podbean, on iTunes. Spread the word about everything, anything, and nothing really. Leave a good review for us. Tell your friends about us. Tell your enemies.
But don't tell our enemies.
No, especially not the ones that are half alien and half Swedish.
Yeah, leave the grays out of this.
But we could use some more reptilian friends.
Who couldn't?
Well, I guess.
All right. We've been hyping it up, and now here's the part you've been waiting for. As I said at the top of the show, my friend Steve Elsterman, he goes by Stevie8 on SoundCloud. That's Stevie, spelled Stevie8. Double E on the Stevie. He's written a song. Isn't that a medical term? A double eight on the Stevie? Oh no, this procedure is going to take a lot longer. We've got a double eight on the Stevie here. It's going to take a little while. Steve has written a song called "The Quarantined Man," inspired by all the time at home we've had to spend this past spring, and that some of us are still having to spend inside. He taught himself how to play the ukulele, did all the vocals, all the instruments, and it's quirky. It's got a bit of an islandy feel to it, like maybe a quarantine Jimmy Buffett.
I believe the name is pronounced Jimmy Buffet.
I'll bring the drinks to the table. Please enjoy the Jimmy Buffet.
Right.
Well, we hope you enjoy it. So for everything, anything, and nothing really, I'm Eric.
And I'm Matt.
And here's Steve Elsterman with The Quarantined Man.
Woke up this morning about noon. Looked over at my wife and told her this is too soon. She started to laugh and then I started to cry, because getting out of bed made me question it why. 'Cause I'm a quarantine man, can do whatever I can, realizing that I'm not the only one that's stuck in this land. Quarantine man, I'm sick of washing my hands. It's part of life that I just really don't understand. Got nothing to do today, I don't have a job. The only thing I do is wish I was part of the mob. Look to see if DEO sent me a check and say the person that's in charge of this, what I. 'Cause I'm a quarantine man, can do whatever I can, realizing that I'm not the only one that's stuck in this land. Quarantine man, I'm sick of washing my hands. It's part of life that I just really don't understand. I don't like to watch the news and hear that Trump, but he's more entertaining than an SNL skit. Seinfeld episodes, there sure is a bunch. I'd probably kill if I could eat at Monk's for some lunch. 'Cause I'm a quarantine man, can do whatever I can, realizing that I'm not the only one that's stuck in this land. Quarantine man, I'm sick of washing my hands. It's part of life that I just really don't understand.
Sir, I'm Matthew Maynard from Fox 17 News in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Do you believe that aliens exist?
I don't know. Maybe.